Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to continue on with the reviews of the Prototype series of 2015 from Brewdog. So we're returning to my old stomping ground of Aberdeen in Scotland, and the second one we're going to have a look at in this series is the Hopped Up Brown Ale. And I have to admit, I really enjoyed the India Pale Lager that I reviewed for you before, and this one is also rated really highly. It's 89 overall on Rate Beer and 93 within the style, and as I always say, Rate Beer is a pretty good kind of barometer, if you like, of how good your beer is going to be. So really looking forward to this one, and as many of you will know that are watching this, I love brown ales. I always enjoy reviewing brown ales on the channel, and Brewdog haven't produced too many of them, so I'm really interested to see what this one turns out like. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. It will be very brief because I've done many Brewdog reviews for you before. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. The brewery website, the link to my other 90 or so Brewdog reviews, so make sure you check those out. All the usual social media, and as I always say, if you want to see more reviews, do subscribe to the channel and you will see many more Brewdog ones coming up if that's particularly what you're interested in. So anyway, to tell you about Brewdog very quickly. So Brewdog is the love child of two Aberdonian guys, James Watt and Martin Dickey, and they were founded back in 2007 in Fraserburgh in the very northeast corner of Scotland. But more recently they've moved to their new and kind of purpose-built facility in the little town of Ellon, which is closer to the city of Aberdeen. But they are also going to open up a second brewery over in Columbus, Ohio, over in America. That should be a really exciting time for them as well. But these guys are known for being a very experimental brewery, and they were particularly known for their strong beers at 1.2, the Tactical Nuclear Penguin, Sink the Bismarck, and the End of History. Those were all really quite interesting stuff actually. But these guys are largely inspired by the American craft brewing renaissance. They often cite Stone Brewing Company as one of their major influences, and they do say that their trademark style is the IPA and double IPAs, although personally I would argue that Brewdog are pretty good when it comes to stouts as well. But these days they've got several brew pubs all over the place. The first of these opened in Aberdeen, where I used to study back in 2010. I was there on the opening night, which I don't remember too much, but it must have been a pretty good night. But they've got all these all throughout the rest of Scotland now, down into England as well, and there's several international sites: Japan, Spain, France I think now, Italy, I'm sure Sweden, Norway, Finland. I think they're starting to open them up over in the States and down in Brazil as well, so they're all over the place these days. But what is really cool about Brewdog is the equity for punk scheme, and for those of you studying business, this should be really quite interesting. So basically fans of the brewery like you and I can buy in and buy shares of the company, and it gives you a lifetime discount in the bars and in the shop and stuff like that. And this is how they funded a lot of their infrastructure. And very recently, in fact, they also released a book called DIY Dog, and this is where they released all the recipes of their beer for homebrewers to actually copy and learn how to homebrew. So really quite cool actually. There's some very interesting innovations have come out of Brewdog, and I'm sure there will be many more to come. So the series of beer that we're going to have a look at today is the Prototype range. They release a couple of these every year. And essentially what happens is the fans of the brewery get to vote for them, and then the one that gets the most votes becomes a headliner the next year. And sometimes if one beer is very popular, that also becomes a headliner. The first ones, if I remember correctly, that came out of this were Jackhammer and Coco Psycho, arguably two of Brewdog's best beers, and there was so tight-knit between those two that they just decided to do both of them. So yeah, there's some pretty interesting stuff comes out of these. And I've heard that the Prototype 2015 are the best ones yet, so I'm sure we'll find out. But anyway, let's actually get on to the tasting of this beer itself. So this one is a 6.3% brown ale. The malts in this one are Extra Pale, Munich, Brown, Crystal, Carafa and Flaked Oats, and the hops are Columbus, Simcoe, Centennial and Citra. Best before the 1st of December 2016. So as you can see, the usual Prototype artwork on this one. I'll just like have a little brief look at it. The kind of plain label on the back, you've got the bit where you can write the tasting notes, and of course you've got the standard Brewdog bottle cap on this one. So it should be a very nice beer for us to have a look at. As I said, very highly rated on Rate Beer. And as I've heard, the Prototype ones from 2016 or 2015 rather have been very highly rated. This of course wasn't the one that actually went on to win the competition. We'll save that one for last in the series of reviews. But yeah, should be a really interesting beer. And like I said, I love, I started off with brown beers with Brooklyn Brown. That was where my love really began, and it's kind of just spread ever more since then. So as you can see, this beer has poured a really nice kind of chestnutty brown colour. I'll just bring the light down and let you see that. You can see this little corner over here. This is the kind of colour you're getting from the whole beer. It's definitely a nice ruby kind of chestnutty colour, this one. It looks very, very nice. I'm not sure how well you can see, but there is a good degree of transparency to this beer, but maybe you can't see that just because of how dark it is. There's a solid finger of a cream coloured head on this one, but quite a little bit of carbonation, some nice little bubbles going up towards the bottom of the head and some bigger bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass. So it should be a really nice one. Let's have a smell of it and see how we get on. Yeah. So in terms of the aroma, it's quite interesting because there's a good balance of things in this. You can smell the hoppy character. There's a nice kind of piney character coming out of it. That floral aromaticity mixed with a little bit of earthy character. It's almost like that kind of dusty hop aroma that you sometimes get out of black IPAs that's coming out of this one. You can really smell that in here. There's some nice red fruity esters, sort of plums and raisins, but you can also smell a little bit of citrus in here, and you can get the grapefruity characters, which is what you would expect from some of the hops in this. It's got a nice floral aromatic resin to it, and you can also smell the sweetness of the malt base in this. When you sugar it up in particular, you start to get more of these malty characters coming out of the beer. You can smell the nice bready malt. There's a little bit of nutty character in there. You can also smell a bit of kind of biscuity sweetness. It smells a little bit toasted, and I would say also a little bit of kind of woody, leathery character coming out of this one as well. You know, it has everything you would expect of one of these kind of Oregon or California, just West Coast American brown ales. Actually, it has everything you would expect, and knowing Brewdog, that's probably the kind of thing that they were going for, as a kind of West Coast brown ale. Incidentally, one of the best ones I had of those recently was Karma Citra from Beer Here in Bornholm in Denmark. That was a really nice beer, so if you enjoy your brown ales, make sure and check out that one. But let's get stuck into this one. As I say, Brewdog haven't tried too many brown ales, so I'm really interested to see how this one turns out. So let's get stuck into this guy. Slàinte, the hopped up brown ale from the Prototype 2015 range from Brewdog. Slàinte. Yeah, that's nice. That is good. You know, I'm very pleased with the two beers I've had from both of the Brewdog prototypes so far. They've been very good. I mean, I missed the Prototype 2014s because I was away in Australia, and I heard they were a little bit disappointing. But this one, I heard that the ones this year were very highly rated, and my dad brought them over for me, and so far I certainly haven't been disappointed. This is really nice. Yeah, that's good. I can see what they mean with the flavours of this one. You've got a really interesting kind of fight going on the tongue here. You can taste the kind of roasted coffee. The carafa malt in this one really is fighting its way to the top. You've got a good dry bitter character in the middle of the palate there. That carafa malt is really punching its way to the surface, and that is mixing well with these kind of piney, resiny hops that are coming out in this beer. It's really interesting. It's actually very dry going into the aftertaste, and it's that coffee malt that starts to dominate, the carafa malt that starts to dominate the palate in this one. Yeah, that's a really nice beer actually. No question about that. I mean, so far there's two beers that could have easily slotted into the headliners for Brewdog, and it's a shame that they don't do too many brown ales, because if they can produce them like this, you know, they really should be doing more, to be honest. But yeah, that is nice. So at the back corner of the palate you can pick up some of the earthy character a little bit. You can just feel that there, and that builds a good bridge between this really quite dark coffee base that you have in the middle of the tongue. Underneath it you can pick up a little bit of caramel sweetness. There's a little bit of biscuity character and some kind of woody, nutty thing going on, but for me it's really that kind of coffee carafa malt base that's kind of punching its way forward on this one. That's the real dominating flavour for me, even over the hops actually. Yeah, it's just lingering there. It's like I've got a kind of dry bit at the back of my tongue, and you just have this really coffee-ish but piney character just lingering there. This beer is actually really quite dry, and it works really well. It really does taste like one of these Oregon or Californian kind of West Coast brown ales. I really like this actually. Yeah. So, as I said, earthy character at the back corner of the palate. As you come further forward, there's a nice floral aromatic thing going on there, some nice piney resin as well. And as you come round the front of the tongue, that aromatic character just smooths out a bit. If you go behind the front curve of the tongue, there's a nice oily bubble there. You can pick up some of the grapefruits in there. There is a citrusy presence as well, and on top of that you can pick out some of the red fruity esters. It's quite mild though. It's more like a candied fruit ester than being a sharp raisin or plum sort of thing in this one. But yeah, that's really nice actually. The flavour in this is quite well balanced. For me, it could be just a little bit sweeter, I would say. But it is a very, very solid beer. I mean, in terms, it's very difficult to actually say, is this one of Brewdog's best beers, because they set really quite high standards for themselves. For me, it doesn't quite go up there to the same levels as the likes of Anarchist Alchemist or Mixtape 8, which are some of the real kind of mind-blowing beers that I've had from Brewdog, but it is very, very good. It's definitely, it's getting towards the kind of best beers that they've done actually. It's really nice. Very, very solid effort, there's no doubt about that on this one. And you know, it's cool to see them experiment with other styles as well. But in terms of the mouthfeel of this beer, fair to say with this one, definitely mid-bodied. There's a good oily mouthfeel to it. The carbonation is fairly smooth. There's a good bit of dryness. As I said, for me it's the Carafa malt that's dominating the malt base. It's quite dry in the middle of the palate. It gets a little bit dry around the edges of the palate as well, because you've got that big floral kind of piney character going in there, but there's a little bit of fruity juiciness and just a little bit of sweet malty character from the malt base as well. But really it's the coffee, the Carafa malt, that's dominating this one for me. But yeah, it's really interesting, and I mean, on the basis of this one, I would say if Brewdog can produce brown ales like this, then they really should be doing more of them. They've only done 2 or 3 that I can think of actually, so they really need to get on and do a few more of these. They've never had one in the headliner range as far as I can remember, or their core range, and they've only done a couple through prototypes and other sort of random things. So Brewdog, you guys need to do more of these, because this one was pretty damn good. So yeah, again with this one, like I said with the India Pale Lager, it's a bit of a shame that you're only going to see this beer once, because for me it is a pretty damn good beer and could fit into the core range of Brewdog pretty easily, I would say. And you know, they are missing a brown ale. That's a point to think about. But again, another very, very solid beer from Brewdog. Maybe, as I said, not one of the top beers from Brewdog, but they set very high standards for themselves. So it's really, you know, that is one thing that's kind of difficult to come across, I guess. But it's another very, very good beer from Brewdog. So make sure you check this out if you get the chance. And as always, do let me know your own thoughts on it in the comment section below. But once again, I thank you for watching my beer videos. I hope you've enjoyed it. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Go and check out all my social media things. And I will catch you soon with the next beer review. We will be doing the next one, which is the Black IPA in this prototype series of 2015. I hope you're enjoying it, and I will catch you soon with the next one. Slàinte just now.